Platinum Games has done the impossible on the Nintendo Switch. They've done something that many felt that they wouldn't be able to do, as they quickly jumped on the sales numbers or what Nintendo would talk about with their games, because maybe they were still a bit upset that these titles, with the newest Platinum Games titles like Bayonetta and Astral Chain, would be exclusive to the Nintendo Switch. But now we actually have some sales numbers from these games. Now, Platinum Games has released a number of titles on the Nintendo Switch, with the only game not necessarily doing so well with the Wonderful 101 out of their major games, a port from the Wii U. However, Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta 2, Bayonetta 3, and Astral Chain have all had their sales revealed. And this is something that I've never seen Platinum Games do on a singular platform ever since their creation. Now, they've had some big successes. We've seen something like Nier Automata, for example, be the best-selling game in division that they've sold of all time when it comes to multi-platform, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. But singular-wise and multiple different games-wise, this is something that's only been done on the Nintendo Switch with Platinum Games. But before we get into that, guys, what's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to the video. Please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you are someone new, if you enjoy Nintendo Switch RPG content and more. Now, let's go ahead and jump right back into this. Platinum Games, first time in history that they have 4 titles in a row, singular platform, that have surpassed 1 million units each. Now, what I'm talking about, Bayonetta 1 at 1.24 million, Bayonetta 2 at 1.23 million, Bayonetta 3 at 1.04 million, and Astral Chain at 1.33 million, all totaling up 4 million plus, pretty much almost right there, almost at 5 million, or at least going on 5 million units. Now, that might not seem like a lot for 4 games for a big title like Legend of Zelda or a Mario title, but for a game like Bayonetta, that's really not used to selling anywhere near consistently like this when it comes to ports or multiple different games. This is absolutely huge for the future of Platinum Games and Nintendo, especially for Astral Chain, which we will get into. Now, what does this mean for the future? Why is this such a big deal? Well, many good things. Now, first and foremost, obviously you have money coming in, because these games, Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2, Bayonetta 3, these were all essentially sold at full price, whether it's the double pack or the single pack. For Bayonetta 1, that was $30, and people snapped that up very quickly. Or Bayonetta 3, which recently launched, and that was $60. It pretty much sold that million in the first month or so. So that was all at $60. Then, of course, Astral Chain, for the most part, that was at full price. The game isn't in high print, so there's not a lot of copies floating around, a lot of used copies and stuff like that. So this is very good that they're actually getting maximum value per each game. So that is going directly back into funding whatever they are going to do next. Now, Bayonetta 4 is 100% happening not at this point. Not only if you beat the game, you know that obviously there's going to be another Bayonetta game, but the series has sold 3 million plus at nearly full price, like I just broke down, on the Nintendo Switch alone. And once again, those all weren't brand new games. Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2, those were ports from the Wii U and not being discounted down to like $5 or $10 or $20, right? They pretty much got maximum value that they can get for those games. That is really important when you're talking about the value of a brand. Does it get discounted nearly instantly? Are you not going to be making the type of money that you essentially want to make on the game? Bayonetta has been able to maximize itself on the Nintendo Switch platform and become more valuable than it's ever been at this point, being singular just on Nintendo Switch. Now, there is a set core fan base of players who will always buy Bayonetta in the millions. We know this. This is 100% fact now at this point on Nintendo. So that's definitely something the franchise did not see before individually on any other platform. It was always kind of weird with Bayonetta 1 originally on the Xbox 360. The sales kind of shot out on the Xbox 360 and PS3, but then kind of tanked afterwards, and the game was discounted and nobody wanted the game. They could have got it. Microsoft and Sony could have got Bayonetta 2. The game was in development. Sega said, we're not making any money on this franchise and we don't see a future for it, so we're going to stop the funding for it. Microsoft and Sony both were given the opportunity to pick it up as an exclusive for their platforms, and they said no. Nintendo jumped in and saved the game on the Nintendo Wii U, and that actually did well enough for Nintendo to say, okay, we're going to continue. Then, of course, Bayonetta got into Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U, and all of it is now history at this point. Bayonetta's in Ultimate, we had Bayonetta 1 and 2 ported over, they sold millions of copies. Then we had Bayonetta 3, that has sold over 1 million copies, and it's snowballed into almost Bayonetta being a first-party character at this point. So this is absolutely incredible for the future of the franchise and for what Nintendo and Platinum Games have been doing. It's almost, like I said, impossible. We've never seen anything like this for Platinum Games titles multiple times in a row. We've seen individual successes here and there, or millions of units here and there, but to have this many games in a row and ports, be it that, 2 new games, 2 ports, and all of them do over 1 million units and be profitable and have a future. It's not like Vanquish or like Mad World or like Anarchy Reigns or some of these games where you expect, okay, is there going to be something else? And then probably nothing is coming because of how they did or because of how the companies think about the IP. That is not the case here with Bayonetta and with Astral Chain. Now, speaking of that, let's talk about Astral Chain, because a lot of you guys have asked me about Astral Chain 2 and what is happening here. So Astral Chain 2 is absolutely happening. Now, the developers did say that they have in their minds a trilogy planned out. And remember, Nintendo actually helped out what this game is. The game was going to be very different. Nintendo told them, hey, kind of use like the police thing with characters. It was going to be like a weird wizard game with magic and stuff, but they changed it into what it ended up being with legions that you control and that type of theme. And I think that that was probably for the better, because the aesthetic and the coolness that oozes out of Astral Chain is like nothing that I've seen. Seriously, it's one of the best games on the Nintendo Switch, hands down. Go out there and buy Astral Chain. Check out my review if you haven't seen it. It seriously is an incredible action RPG. It was a top 5 game of all time on Nintendo Switch for a reason on my recent list that I did of the 25 best Nintendo Switch games. So it's incredible. But the developers have planned out a trilogy in their mind, and they've already stated that it was very successful. I know you guys are probably thinking, okay, well, 1.33 million, how good is that? Now, the thing about Astral Chain is that you have to look at the development cost and then also what was in the game. Yes, the game has great graphics, great music, sound, all of that, but the development cost wasn't as bad as some of these other big AAA games that are out there. Astral Chain definitely didn't have that type of inflated budget a lot of these modern AAA games have, considering how the game plays. And when you play the game, you'll kind of realize it's really more of a gamer's type of gameplay. A lot of money was put into the actual game mechanics and how the game works through a gameplay lens and content, not flashy voice actors or licensed music or even a crazy marketing budget with all sorts of commercials everywhere and everything. It was all pretty much in-house in terms of what they did. Traditional marketing on the internet, at least traditional in the sense of in the modern day, when it comes to online word of mouth. This is how this game actually spread. Now remember, there was quite a number of people that were saying this game flopped when we got the first numbers in Japan, and I think it was around 30-something thousand units. It wasn't really super high in Japan. People were saying flop, it should have been on PlayStation, oh, this franchise is dead, it's over with, they're not going to sell over 1 million. And I was like, yeah, wait till we get the US sales. Because one thing about Platinum Games, that their titles necessarily aren't the biggest in Japan outside of like Nier and some of their titles. But for the most part, a lot of the damage is done here in the US. Bayonetta is the same exact way. And what we saw is that, yes, here in the US specifically, Astral Chain was incredible with its sales. We saw the same thing with the Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta 2, and Bayonetta 3. So when you combine all of that, it really points to Platinum Games doing something that they've never really had. It's not like they're selling 7 million copies each, but I do think that going forward with the Nintendo Switch 2, we are going to see sequels to these games. We are going to see Bayonetta 4 at some point. We are going to see Astral Chain 2 at some point. People have asked me, will these be on the Nintendo Switch? Probably not. I think that they've ran their course on the Nintendo Switch when it comes to what they've already done. We know that Bayonetta is already doing successful there. People are still buying the Bayonetta games and the Astral Chain games on the Nintendo Switch. There's no need to really overload it unless you're going to do a cross-gen type of thing. but I don't think that they're going to. I think that they're going to have a plan, but I feel that Bayonetta 4 is going to be handled a lot better than what Bayonetta 3 was, because they announced Bayonetta 3 way too early, and we ended up waiting almost all of the generation for the game, because it was announced like in what, 2017 or 2018, something like that or whatever, and it didn't come out all the way till 2022. So that's definitely a long wait, considering that Astral Chain was announced in 2019 and released in 2019. February 2019 at the Nintendo Direct, it was announced, then it was released later. I think it was August or September. So that's what you want to do with this type of game. But that shock value that Astral Chain brought to the table, that's why the game did so well. The uniqueness, the different type of things that only Platinum Games can do. Nobody else can make a type of game like Astral Chain on the Nintendo Switch, especially third-party developers. I haven't seen a single game when it comes to third-party developers built that well for the Nintendo Switch with that type of aesthetic from a Japanese developer. I've seen some AA stuff. You have Raincoat, you have some other type of games that work pretty well on the Nintendo Switch, but we didn't see anything from Bandai Namco or from any of these other big Japanese companies that were quite up to the level of Astral Chain, that was uniquely built for the platform. We saw some good ports though. Nier Automata came out, and that sold well on the Nintendo Switch too. So that's another good point for Platinum Games on the Nintendo Switch, but obviously that game is done way better on the PlayStation platform, and these games here with Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta 2, Bayonetta 3, and Astral Chain have done millions on the Nintendo Switch alone. So this is a positive thing. This is absolutely a good thing for the future for Astral Chain 2 and for Bayonetta 4, and whatever they decide to do, I think that it's going to be planned out a little bit better, especially with Bayonetta 4. I just don't want the issues that we had before and everyone questioning if the game is even going to come out at some point. People were saying that it was canceled and all that, even though the community was like, no, it's not. But yeah, this is going to be an incredible thing to see. When it comes to actual predictions of what's going to come first or not, I'm guessing that we might see Astral Chain 2 first. I don't know why I'm saying that. I'm just guessing that we might see that game first, and then we see Bayonetta 4 when it's actually ready. When it's actually ready to go and Bayonetta 4 is close to completion or about a year away, I think they will announce something. Or at least if they do announce something, it's not going to be in the same type of way that they announced it this time. I think Astral Chain will be announced also when it's ready to go, if they're not already working on it. And that will be a great announcement as well. But you have to make sure that you place it at a certain time period to where it's going to do good. You can't announce it too early or with no install base, or there's going to be a problem there. So we'll see exactly how they decide to spread out the announcements. But rest assured, Astral Chain 2 and Bayonetta 4 are both coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 based off of this impossible thing that they've been able to do, which is selling these millions of copies of some of the older games at full price and the new games as well at full price, with $60 for Astral Chain and $60 for Bayonetta 3. So I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how Nintendo and Platinum Games navigates the next Switch system. Heck, maybe we even see another brand new IP from Platinum Games on a Nintendo platform with the increased horsepower and system specs that the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to bring to the table. So we'll see how that works. Heck, we could even see some next-gen patches, right, for Astral Chain and Bayonetta 3 on the Nintendo Switch 2 that bring it up to 60 frames per second. So that could also happen and increase the sales of those games as well. So what do you guys think about all of this when it comes to Astral Chain, when it comes to Bayonetta, Platinum Games, and this impossible thing that they were able to do on the platform over this amount of time? What do you see for them going forward in the future on the Nintendo Switch 2 or just in general? Of course, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Also, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out our other videos on Platinum Games right here, in addition to my top 25 Nintendo Switch games of all time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you for the next one. Peace.